On the battlefield, the battle between the kings reached its conclusion. The Dark King's divine body was smashed into two by the Man King's white bone staff, with his lower body reduced to pieces and his upper body covered in black blood. As the Dark King attempted to unleash a terrifying dark technique, the Man King pressed his attack and prevented him from completing it. At the critical moment, Kang Long struck with the remaining horn, piercing the Dark King's body and severing his head. The Man King then smashed his head apart with the white bone staff, destroying both his body and divine spirit. The terrifying Demon King, who had cultivated for more than 4,000 years and then sealed himself for another 1,500 years, was finally killed, throwing the Wong clan into chaos. Suddenly, the purple lightning hammer shot out from the divine earth, releasing a handsome man surrounded by the Tao. Purple lightning flashed from his eyes as he immediately attacked the Man King, intending to kill him with a single strike. The Man King reacted quickly, invoking the northern extreme immortal light while rising into the sky and grabbing the supreme stone axe before striking downward. The power of the great saint weapon erupted and shook the heavens. The man was extraordinarily terrifying, already approaching the saint realm. At the critical moment, the divine spirit residing within the stone axe awakened and emerged as a hazy mass of light, blocking him and preventing him from advancing further. The goddess furnace also awakened, and Yi Fan used it to protect the Man clan warriors in case the Wong clan released another hidden trump card. The handsome man fought fiercely against the stone axe's divine spirit, causing the heavens and earth to collapse. But after a short while, his figure gradually faded and disappeared. The divine spirit returned to the stone axe, while the Man King vomited blood and suffered severe injuries, showing how terrifying the northern extreme immortal light had been. The Man King revealed that the Wong clan possessed a northern extreme immortal light, an existence known as an immortal light that could merge with a person's primordial spirit and remain imperishable. When needed, it could unleash one terrifying attack, but afterward its Tao would disperse, allowing it to exist for only about half a quarter of an hour. It was normally suppressed by a supreme sacred weapon and never exposed. The northern extreme immortal light existed only in the northern extreme, with one appearing only once every 100,000 years, and very few people had ever seen it. The person who refined it had not yet completely become a saint, otherwise, the Man King would already have been reduced to ashes. With this revelation, the Man clan Iron Cavalry temporarily withdrew under the protection of the stone axe and goddess furnace. The Wong clan was furious and decided to exhaust all of its foundations in order to destroy the Man clan. Dozens of powerful experts had already been killed, and two of the clan's hidden foundations had been lost. All members of the Wong clan retreated into their divine earth and jointly activated the purple lightning hammer. Billions of purple rays erupted as the supreme sacred weapon fully awakened, resembling an ancient saint returning to life. This terrifying purple light shot into the sky and shocked countless great forces throughout northern plains, with powerful figures from various regions turning their attention toward it. At the same time, tens of thousands of Man clan cavalry gathered together and jointly activated the stone axe, causing immense saint power to surge through the heavens. Yi Fan then activated another supreme weapon, the goddess furnace, and suspended it high in the sky. Normally, one person could not fully awaken a sacred weapon, but tens of thousands of iron cavalry gathered together could combine their blood chi and power to accomplish it. The goddess furnace erupted with dazzling divine light and expanded to its true size, covering the sky. It was no longer the small palm-sized furnace Yi Fan had previously carried, but its true form, possessing enough power to destroy the heavens. The Wong clan members turned pale when they saw two supreme sacred weapons appearing at the same time, while they themselves possessed only one inherited sacred weapon. Nevertheless, they insisted that their clan had more than a dozen hidden foundations and called for their strongest trump cards. Preparing for a final life or death struggle, the purple lightning hammer suddenly shone brightly, and a transparent piece of divine origin flew out from within it. Yi Fan immediately recognized it as divine origin, but unlike ordinary divine origin, it was not dazzling and instead possessed a smooth, gentle radiance resembling starlight. It was the same type of divine origin that had once sealed the beautiful woman Yi Fan discovered in northern region Divine City. Within this divine origin was a terrifying ancient beast with 3 heads, a dragon head in the center, with a monkey head and a bird head on either side. Though only about 2 meters long, Its body was covered in dense scales as hard as divine iron and possessed frightening strength. The moment it emerged, it trembled and released an overwhelming aura, causing half of the people present to become weak and collapse. The Wong clan declared that this was their strongest hidden foundation. If the Man clan could defeat it, the Wong clan would accept its destruction, otherwise, everyone from the Man clan would die. The Man King was shocked and recognized it as an ancient primordial beast. Liti Tian also sensed an aura resembling that of a saint. The Man clan leader warned that the Wong clan had used a supreme sacred weapon to suppress such a beast and that, if it were allowed to fully emerge, it would cause rivers of blood and slaughter countless people. The Wong clan, however, insisted that they had been forced into this situation and demanded that everyone die with them. The Man King remained fearless, declaring that regardless of how many hidden foundations the Wong clan possessed, the Man clan did not fear them and only needed one war god. At that moment, the stone axe expanded its small world, revealing a tall man sealed within a complete block of divine origin. The divine origin was formed from condensed divine origin liquid, without the slightest crack, and stood more than 2 meters tall. Inside was a powerful man around 30 or 40 years old, with a thick iron-like beard, large bell-like eyes, bronze-colored skin, and a beast skin garment. His appearance was that of a war god reincarnated into the world. The Wong clan members became desperate when they sensed his aura, because they could feel that his power was capable of suppressing the ancient primordial beast, causing even the beast to tremble. Although the war god-like man remained sealed within the divine origin, he seemed to awaken, and his supreme pressure immediately shook heaven and earth. The Man clan warriors shouted that the war god and their 17th generation ancestor would live forever. The war god did not even need to leave the divine origin. Instead, the entire block of divine origin descended with him, releasing an overwhelming pressure that forced everyone present to kneel. The ancient primordial beast also remained sealed and did not dare to emerge. It fled into the sky and looked back in fear. The Wong clan finally fell into complete despair. Even after releasing all of its hidden foundations, it could no longer reverse the situation, because no one was capable of resisting the war god. Yi Fan concluded that the Wong clan was finished, as there could be no miracle capable of saving it. The battle had reached its end, and the entire 5 regions was about to be shaken. It was an unprecedented event in 100,000 years. The Man clan's cavalry had trampled down an ancient desolate family, and an immortal inheritance that had stood for countless years was about to reach its end. Corpses covered the ground, blood flowed like rivers, mountains and rivers collapsed, and battle cries shook the heavens. Half-step great powers were cut in half. Man clan riders and savage beasts were slain. War chariots crushed entire groups of cavalry, and the battlefield became a horrifying scene of blood, bones, and death. The stone axe and divine maiden furnace hung high in the sky, releasing brilliant Dao flowers and divine sounds to protect the Man clan army from the opposing saint weapons. As the battle intensified, the great saint weapons of both sides clashed, producing terrifying Dao marks that pierced the 9 heavens, evolved small worlds, and unleashed chaotic energy. War chariots and ancient ships were destroyed in the sky, while countless cavalrymen were reduced to blood mist. The Wong family was at an even greater disadvantage because the Man clan possessed 2 great saint weapons, which suppressed their purple lightning hammer and pushed the Wong family's divine land toward destruction. Realizing that defeat was inevitable, many Wong family experts attempted to retreat through teleportation platforms, but the Man clan had already sealed the void passages with ancient formation flags. With their escape route cut off, the Wong family became desperate and decided to perish together with their enemies. They attempted to burn their divine origin, ancient weapons, divine formations, incomplete saint weapons, and the entire divine land, intending to unleash a destructive force capable of taking the Man clan army down with them. However, an ancient man war god was watching from the sky while suppressing the ancient Teoti beast, and his enormous battle aura descended upon the divine land, extinguishing all of its energy fluctuations and preventing the Wong family from carrying out their final destruction. The Wong family cursed the Man clan and claimed that the ancient sovereign clans would eventually emerge and take revenge. But the Man clan patriarch revealed that they already knew the Wong family had been secretly connected with the ancient sovereign clans. The Man clan king also stated that the ancient sovereign clans would not launch a large-scale attack against the human race. making the Wong family's last hope useless. The Wong family desperately prayed to their ancestral weapons and called upon their final reserves. While the purple lightning hammer began to burn with tremendous purple Tao energy and attempted to destroy itself together with the enemy's saint weapons, Yi Fan calmly declared that all of these efforts were useless. The Man clan army continued pushing forward with the divine maiden furnace and stone axe. While the ancient man war god descended from above, the stone axe, left behind by a great saint of the Man clan, rose into the sky and released an overwhelming saint might. Under the control of the ancient man, its power surpassed that of the tens of thousands of cavalry combined. The stone axe struck down, causing the purple lightning hammer to tremble. Without a suitable master to wield it, the purple lightning hammer could not withstand the true saint might. The so-called final reserves hidden within it emerged one after another, only to be instantly destroyed by the ancient man before anyone could clearly see them. The Wong family cried out in despair, but nothing could change the outcome. Even though the divine spirit within the purple lightning hammer struggled, attempted to burn itself, and even sought self-destruction, it was completely suppressed. The stone axe opened an internal small world and swallowed the purple lightning hammer inside, causing its terrifying fluctuations to disappear from the world. The ancient man then brought the suppressed ancient Teodi beast into the stone axe and disappeared, leaving the weapon hovering above the Man clan army. At this point, the outcome was completely decided. The Wong family had lost all of its foundations and its inherited saint weapon, leaving no possibility of reversing the situation. The Man King ordered the army to charge and announced that the Man clan had accomplished the greatest feat of destroying an immortal inheritance, avenging their people and restoring the prestige of their clan. Tens of thousands of cavalry charged into the Wong family's divine land, crushing everything in their path. The Man King rose into the sky and told the younger generation that the battle ahead belonged to them while he watched from above. The Wong family's defeat became irreversible. Their forces collapsed like a falling mountain, and their members fled in panic like stray dogs or fish trapped in a net, leaving countless corpses behind. The Man clan cavalry advanced without resistance. While ahead stood countless palaces containing the treasures and accumulated wealth the Wong family had gathered over more than 100,000 years. Yi Fan stood alongside the old Man King, while Li Tian and Yan Yishi were also nearby. Yi Fan then ordered that, according to their previous plan, the news of the Wong family's destruction be spread so that the enemies of the Wong family could enter northern plains and carry out the final pursuit and extermination. Before the battle, Yi Fan had considered joining forces with the Wong family's enemies, but he ultimately decided against it because the Wong family's accumulated prestige was too great and those enemies would not have dared to respond openly. Now that the Wong family had already fallen, there was no longer any reason to conceal the news. The Man King agreed and prepared to inspect the Wong family's ancient palaces, expecting to find great saint scriptures, saint materials for refining weapons, and perhaps even one or two ancient emperor scriptures. Before dawn, tens of thousands of Man clan cavalry had already entered the northern plains, causing the entire region to tremble. Li Tian praised Yi Fan's strategy, noting that the Wong family was now completely finished and that even those who managed to escape would be hunted down and eliminated by their former enemies. An immortal inheritance was truly coming to an end. That night, the entire world was shaken and the 5 regions erupted in turmoil. The destruction of an ancient aristocratic family was like the collapse of a legend. In 100,000 years, no one had accomplished such a feat as crushing an ancient aristocratic family beneath the hooves of an army. News spread with unprecedented speed, reaching the various regions within a single night. The sacred body himself had led tens of thousands of cavalry to destroy the Wong family of the northern plains. In the divine land, the Man clan warriors broke through one magnificent ancient palace after another. Most of the halls were filled with immortal mist and countless treasures. In one ancient palace, divine light shot into the sky as numerous divine pearls floated in the air, engraved with Tao marks and shining like stars. Cultivating there could double one's cultivation speed. The Man clan warriors were stunned because they had never seen such treasures before, having normally lived in the wilderness, accompanied by fierce beasts and relying on simple weapons such as wolf-tooth clubs. In another palace, they discovered a huge amount of divine origin, with pieces ranging from the size of a fist to the size of a human head, shining like suspended suns. The Wong clan had ruled northern plains for hundreds of thousands of years and had accumulated an unimaginable amount of wealth and treasures. As the Man clan army swept through the divine land, blood stained the mountains and rivers. Corpses were scattered everywhere, and iron cavalry trampled over the battlefield. The destruction of the Wong clan meant that all its former glory had become meaningless, leaving behind only blood, sorrow, and desolation. Another palace contained an enormous arsenal filled with ancient weapons. Sword cries and blade hums echoed through the hall as countless weapons radiated dazzling light. Every weapon had already developed spiritual intelligence and was extremely valuable. Obtaining such an arsenal was of immense importance to the Man clan. Another palace contained countless jade bottles, pill furnaces, and precious medicinal pills, with a rich medicinal fragrance filling the air. The Wong clan had accumulated wealth for hundreds of thousands of years, possessing more than 1,000 ancient palaces connected together. Its resources included mountains of origin, ancient medicines that had survived for tens of thousands of years, incomplete saint weapons, profound ancient scriptures, and mysterious ancient killing formations. Even the legendary treasure vaults and immortal inheritances were insignificant compared with the Wong clan's enormous accumulation. The simple and rugged Man clan warriors were completely overwhelmed by the sight, since they had spent their lives in primitive mountains and forests and had never imagined such unimaginable luxury. Seeing them becoming distracted by the treasures, the Man King stood atop a palace and sternly warned them not to let material wealth shake their will. He had brought them here both to take revenge against the human race and to temper them through war and bloodshed so that they could become true ancient Man clan warriors, because even stronger enemies might await them in the future. His words immediately awakened the warriors, restoring their clear and solemn expressions. In front of several towering ancient pine trees stood an old, weathered stone hall containing the Wong clan's ancient scriptures and secret manuals. Yi Fan stood before a window, carefully studying an ancient scripture and comprehending its mysteries, while Yao Yuanli, Li Tian, and the Man clan patriarch also searched through the surviving texts. Many ancient books had been damaged because the Wong clan had attempted to destroy this place during its retreat, but several supreme experts had prevented them from completely succeeding. After searching for some time, Yi Fan finally discovered a hidden location. Li Tian, Yan Yishi, and the Man clan patriarch were covered in blood after using a saint weapon to break open a mysterious cave, where several ancient scriptures floated inside. One of them was an ancient scripture left behind by a human race great saint, the ancestor of the Wong clan. It recorded the Wong clan's highest techniques and contained profound mysteries. Several other ancient scriptures were also found, each containing insights personally comprehended by saints. Not every saint was capable of creating a new path, and those who could leave behind such inheritances were extraordinary figures who had profound understanding of the great Tao and various secret techniques. The final scripture caused everyone to become extremely solemn, including the Man King, the Chaos Ancient Scripture. These three words carried a strange attraction because it was the scripture left behind by the Chaos Ancient Emperor. When Wang Teng was young, he had once been taken away by an immortal crane and obtained the Chaos Ancient Emperor's inheritance. And unexpectedly, he had brought it back to the Wong clan. However, the scripture was incomplete. It only contained the cultivation methods of the Sea of Bitterness, Tao Palace, and Four Extremities, while the transformations of the dragon and immortal platform chapters were missing, along with the supreme secret techniques created by the Chaos Ancient Emperor. Yi Fan already possessed sufficient cultivation methods, but he greatly desired the heaven-shaking secret techniques contained in the ancient emperor's complete inheritance, which were rumored to include supreme forbidden techniques. The Man clan patriarch was nevertheless satisfied. Considering the destruction of an ancient aristocratic family and the enormous treasure accumulated over hundreds of thousands of years, an extraordinary victory, he allowed Yi Fan, Li Tian, and Yan Yishi to take an ancient scripture each. Although they did not lack cultivation methods, they carefully studied them to deepen their understanding of their realms. That night, flames of war rose throughout northern plains. The Wong clan was an enormous force with deep roots and countless industries. And after its downfall, all of its former enemies emerged. The entire northern plains was engulfed in continuous warfare. Even great sects that had no previous grudge against the Wong clan joined the struggle in order to seize its resources. Origin mines, cultivation grounds, auction houses, and other locations containing extraordinary treasures all became battlefields. Once the Wong clan's divine land had been uprooted, Its smaller outposts and industries naturally had no ability to resist. The battle could not end quickly, and more conflicts and pursuits were bound to follow. The Wong clan had been exterminated. Countless armies entered northern plains that night, including powerful forces from other great regions. Many top-level sects rushed directly toward the Wong clan's divine land, hoping to obtain the greatest possible benefits. The place contained ancient scriptures, supreme saint weapons, countless resources, treasures, war chariots, ancient ships, king-level weapons, ancient medicines, and other priceless treasures. Even obtaining only a portion of them would be enough to benefit a cultivator for an entire lifetime. However, the great sects could only watch helplessly because the Man clan army had activated the stone axe of the human race great saint, causing it to hover around the divine land. Anyone who dared to enter would certainly be struck down. Everyone also knew that the Wong clan possessed an ancient saint-level ancestral beast. Yet even that powerful creature had been suppressed by the Man clan, making the outcome extremely frightening. Most great sect masters therefore could only observe from afar and did not dare to take the risk. Within the divine land, enormous warships rose into the air and disappeared into domain gates, each one loaded with dazzling treasures and precious resources. Countless people were jealous, but none dared to attack. Fortresses forged from divine metals also rose into the sky, and all of the Wong clan's powerful war machines now belonged to the Man clan. Each ancient war fortress was filled with origin stones, ancient medicines, weapons, and other resources, making the Man clan's harvest unimaginably enormous. The Man King had previously warned his descendants not to lose themselves in material enjoyment. Yet even he could not help being amazed by the scale of their gains. Thousands of ancient chariots, warships, and fortresses continued to rise. Although they could not completely remove everything because the small world within the divine land could not be taken away. Eventually, the Man King used the stone axe to collect all the ancient palaces, warships, and chariots into it. The watching great sects were extremely disappointed, realizing that the Man clan had taken virtually everything, leaving nothing behind. After the Man clan army withdrew following an entire day and night, numerous great sects entered the divine land to search again, believing that the wealth of an ancient aristocratic family might include hidden treasures. Some sects indeed discovered secret chambers and obtained additional valuable treasures. Meanwhile, in Southern Ridge, Wang Tang went completely mad. His hair was disheveled as he stood atop an ancient emperor war chariot, roaring in grief and fury. He had gone to Southern Ridge intending to kill Yi Fan. Yet during that very night, Yi Fan had instead led the Man clan army into northern plains and destroyed his entire family. On a distant cliff in Southern Ridge, Li Xiaoman stood in white robes, coldly gazing toward northern plains. In eastern desolation, Ji Ziu's eyes flashed as she looked northward, thinking of Yi Fan leading tens of thousands of iron cavalry to destroy an ancient aristocratic family. This battle shook the entire world and left countless major forces horrified, especially the Yin-Yang sect of Central Plains. In the northern part of eastern desolation, on an ancient mountain, a vague male figure stood with his hands behind his back and murmured that the human race's desolate ancient sacred body had aroused his interest and was worthy of being personally killed.